Hi everyone, it's Andrew and Ossie, and we are here to have a look at the 50% finished CA30 Chinese licensed ZIL157, which is the more common thing you'll see on YouTube and the internet searches and things. So it's the official Chinese licensed version of a ZIL157, actually called a CA30. So KingKong have actually named this what it is. It's finished in terms of the chassis, it's finished in terms of the cab. The two are together. It's been out for its first run. The run video is coming very soon, and I'll link it somewhere in here, so you can check out the run video as well. Now, it isn't completely finished because I haven't done the back yet. What I've decided to do is build, as you undoubtedly, I'm not going to go into it in detail, but I've mentioned it enough times. But I am going to make my own scratch built kind of Russian radio box type thing for the back. So that's why it's like it is. This is just a kit battery box, kind of in a kind of mock coffin, a Dracula coffin feel going on here. That's our friend Steve from Mid Wales Crawlers. He came up with that stunning idea of making it a coffin, and for the battery, obviously. So I just wanted to talk about the truck. How did it run? How does it perform? And what were the finishing things I did with it? So in the previous video, I think we finished off with the truck kind of weathered. I was going to tone it down a little bit, I seem to remember, and I have done that. So the weathering has had a lot of the brown that was dominant on the last video. On the cab, I have gone over with a different tone of green. So let me zoom in, you can have a quick look. Yeah, the brown I took back again, put green on back on top of it, I felt it was a bit clumsy and a bit too much. It was good in little areas, but then the whole effect was a bit too heavy-handed. So that's really all. I mean, I've had so many coats of paint this thing, and so many paint bits put on it. It's just a balancing act between trying to highlight and make it a bit more three-dimensional, and then and overdoing it, basically, making it look not effective, not scale, not real. It's all done by hand. I'm not a great fan of weathering by airbrush. I think there's a big danger you make weathering look arty with an airbrush. So that's what I've done. One of the areas that one of the things I did with this after I kind of put the cab on the chassis was to blend the weathering of the two together, and that was quite a big important thing. The chassis has been weathered, so let me catch that up. It was mostly black out of the box. It was sprayed black to keep the axles, because the axles were grey, and there was lots of chrome and odd coloured things, shiny black links and things. So it was all done matte black, and then it was done with a khaki spray can, lightly over it, to kind of dust it down a little bit, and then I went over with some strong brown to put some rust and some different coloured, different textured brown colour on it. And then it had a black wash put back over it as well, for oil stains and just to bring out some of the detail. You're not going to see much of the chassis, so I could be a bit heavier with that. The wheels also were done, so they've also had some khaki, some brown acrylic paint wash put round them, and then mostly wiped off, to bring out the fantastic detail in the wheels. I think they deserve their own close-up. Okay, so they've had some khaki paint put on them, browns and all sorts, just to kind of bring out some more of the detail, and make them dusty and kind of dirty looking. So once I put the cab on, it was quite clear that they'd been weathered differently. So I took the spray can and sprayed 1 or 2 passes, just like that, to get some khaki splashed up onto the door here. And then I've gone over this separately with a brush. Okay, I'll put some brown on and put that, reinforced it if you like. But there is a kind of khaki splattering up the door, and then I've done over I've gone through with a brush to make it a bit more of a thing. Same with the tank. You can see there's a kind of fading on this as well. And it's the same on the other side. So now the whole thing kind of blends together a little bit more, I think, than it did initially, which you haven't seen, obviously. Now, what have I done to this in terms of differing from the kit? I've changed the tyres, as you'll have seen in the previous videos. These are the upgrade tyres. They are taller and I think a little skinnier, but they've certainly got the awesome Russian tread pattern on, which for me was a no-brainer with this truck. Even though it's a Chinese copy, I wanted this tread pattern on. The headlights I've changed. These are 10 scale spotlights now. The balls are 10 scale spotlights. The kit bulbs didn't look like, I couldn't work out how I would get an LED in there without cutting the wire and shoving the LED in this side and soldering the wire into the back side. And that's just an awful lot of faff on. And obviously when you start soldering, you end up with a rigid section of wire that was going to be, the whole thing was going to be just a real clot on for a couple of headlights. So I've put some 10 scale spotlights in. I've yellowed the lens, just painted a bit of watered down yellow on the lens, which I hope you can see. A bit closer, you can see maybe there's the you can see the yellowed lens. They're not meant to be bright particularly, but they are going to be able to take now a proper LED and have it mounted in there. I haven't done so yet. The lights are something I haven't sorted out yet with this. I've braced the door mirrors. Let's get the camera up where they are so you can see them. I've put a bracing on here. It's easy to move the truck and the camera. This is the kit part, and this is the bit I've added on just to give it a bit of strength, which it did need, and it probably, yeah, the super glue's snapped, I can tell. The mirrors did come with glass. You get a kind of glass lens to go in there. Let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit more for you, because this is something else that I worked on for an evening. I didn't want to put the clear plastic lens in there, so I've put some tin foil and I've weathered it with some brown, and so it's kind of like a rusty, bit of silver really. What else have I worked on? I've added a little radiator in here because there's nothing to stop you seeing the servo straight through the grille. So I've just put a Velcro strip on the servo. The electronics can go in these fuel tanks. There are holes and cable slots for the wires to go in. This top section does unclip, but I've put all mine under the seat. So I've got a 1080 Hobbywing ESC and my receiver under the seat. If I lift this up without breaking anything, you know how much fun that is. There's the Hobbywing switch, and there's all the cables coming through from the motor and the servo up front. The door's open on the bonnet, which is kind of cool. So if those of you who really fancy putting a proper scale engine in there, you can do. You can also see the original green. That was the original green paint that the whole thing started with. So you can see how the surface finish has changed over the course of the last month or so with my multiple layering, or just keep throwing paint at it until it looks right technique. I think that's what I'll probably call it, because it's a little closer to the truth. Now, the lights, let me return to the lights, because I have lost one of the main headlight lenses. I lost that. That was another reason for putting spotlights in. And I've lost the indicator lights as well. I don't know where they've all gone. So these are just the cowls at the moment. I'm not convinced I'm going to do anything about that, to be honest with you. Certainly not going to put lights in, because it's just another set of non-scale wires that are going to have to be sticking out of the back of these lights. So yeah, there she is. How does she run? She runs really nicely. So I'm going to put a little bit of a run clip up for you, so you can get an idea of how she moves. She is quite bumpy and quite bouncy. That, I think, is a given that she is entirely leaf sprung. It's never going to be, something really super smooth. She's no Traxxas TRX6, I'll tell you that now. But what she is I think scale to that. So she does bounce around. There is a little bit of movement on the. Let me put it down on the table so you can see what she sits, how she sits, if there is any real difference. I don't think there is. There is a little bit of drop to it as she settles down, and there is quite a lot of, there is a fair amount of you know, front end travel. Not a huge amount of back end compression, but obviously the rear axles are pivoting around the center point, so they look quite articulate, but if you put weight on the whole chassis, it's not going to go down too far. A little bit. But that's leaf sprung trucks for you. If you watch one of these on YouTube, it bounces around the shop, because it's the one thing about these tyres, I will say, and I can't remember what the kit ones are like. Could have a look if I could be bothered. The sidewalls are quite firm. The centre of the tyre is pretty soft, but the sidewalls, let me zoom in a bit so you can get an idea of me poking at this. The sidewalls are quite stiff. I mean, it is a truck tyre after all, so you're not going to get a whole bunch of compression out of these. He's not Proline swampers or anything, you know what I mean? So the sidewalls are quite rigid. There is a little bit of bulge. You can maybe just, you see the tyre bulging at the bottom as I press down on the chassis. So, you know, you're going to get some, there's a little bit of bulge when I put the truck down. There's a little bit of settle on the tyre. So yeah, there's quite a lot of throw as well on the servo, as you'll maybe notice. So the steering angles are good. In terms of twist, oh, well, there is a little tiny bit, but you know, this is a scale truck. It's not a competition truck. There is a tiny bit of twist in the chassis, but you know, get a grip. So yes, I love it. I think it's really nice. I can't say how heavy it is, but it is surprisingly heavy for a chassis. It's all metal chassis, so it's quite it is got quite a bit of beef to it. The box at the back, obviously I need to get on with that, scratch building the big sort of Russian ambulance box that's going to go on the back. But for now, I love it. I think it's fantastic, and they KingKong RC seem to have done something to capture the scaleness of this rig. That's what really sets this apart from the MC8 and of course your typical axials and things. The scaleness is just that little bit more than it is in the MC8. I don't know why. Maybe it's the chassis, maybe it's the exposed chassis, the leaves and all the rest of it. You know, it doesn't have the shiny shocks and things on the MC8 does. So I'm going to paint the chassis on the MC8 and see how that feels to me, how that looks in terms of how much scale it adds to the truck. But this, I'm very happy with how it's turned out. It is super scale, and I really like that. Okay. So yeah, enjoy the run video when it turns up. A couple of clips I hope you've enjoyed as well. And the next update you'll hear about this truck will be the scratch build of the box. And I can't promise that's going to be anytime soon, because I'm terrified of doing it. So I'm looking for excuses. Anyhow, there you go. Oh, I should probably say, well, never mind. Let's go. You've seen enough. Thanks, Goal. Catch you next time.